Joining us now on the IdahoSports.com Prepcast, head boys and girls tennis coach from Sandpoint High School, Kent Anderson. Thanks for joining us, Kent. How long have you been the tennis coach at Sandpoint High?
This is year 13, unbelievably.
Yeah, and I know you're very involved in the tennis community up there, not just at the high school level, but at the younger levels as well. A question I have to ask all our spring sports this time of year is, how's the weather been cooperating?
Uh, Honestly, it's been the best spring we've ever had. I mean, we haven't missed one practice outside. Started February 26th outside, and it's been every day. So it's been just wonderful.
I was going to say you've been able to get a lot of competition under your belt so far. Tell us a little bit about the schedule you've played and how your team has done so far.
We started out the season after 10 days of practice. We did a tournament, just a small tournament. We're a 4A school. They're both 5A. And we tied Coeur d'Alene, lost to Lewiston really in a close match. But it was kind of more like a friendly match. So since then, we've played 3 more 5A schools, won all of them. We have our first big match with a 4A school, our big competitor Moscow, on today actually at 2:00. So yeah, we're actually on a pretty good roll. We've beat Post Falls twice and Lake City, so pretty big programs.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that you've come out and competed so well against those 5A schools, especially considering there was a pretty lengthy layoff because you weren't really able to have a season last year because of COVID-19. How did that impact the program at Sandpoint High?
Well, negatively for sure, but at the same time, we had an experienced team. We didn't graduate any seniors in 2020, so we come back on the boys' side with now 7 seniors, but they're all stayed motivated. They played through the winter. I did some coaching, all winter long. Actually, we played outdoors here in Sandpoint all winter, all 12 months. It's just been an incredible year. So the kids have hit a lot of balls. Our girls were in a rebuilding program. We lost almost our entire team in 2020 to graduation, and the girls they're as strong as the guys. I mean, they're really playing well. So
Yeah,
we were able to keep up.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those girls, varsity competitors that you have this season. Who's really stood out?
Well, our number one doubles team is our 2 and 3 player on our challenge ladder, and they're undefeated this year. And their last match at Post Falls, they won 0-0. They rarely give up any games, and I'm really happy for them. I'm really surprised. I just wasn't expecting this, but they're animals, and they attack the net, and they just kind of play doubles correctly. They might be going against better players at times, but they just do it right. So they've been great. My number one player is a 9th grader, Neva Raseska, and she's lost a couple matches this year. They've all been really close, but for a 9th grader at number one, going against top level 5A kids, she's been real impressive too. I think in the 4A district, she's got a good chance of winning it.
In terms of a coaching philosophy, I know some coaches say, okay, you're singles, you're doubles, and that's the way it is. Some coaches like to experiment and move players around. Where do you fit in?
I like to experiment a little bit. I think doubles helps your singles game, and singles helps your doubles game. So I kind of move them around a little bit, and I look for chemistry. It's really not having. If you want your best doubles team, it's not necessarily your best 2 players. It's the chemistry that's the first thing, and so I have to move them around. But we're starting to get pretty close to how we want to appear at state and our districts and state.
Now, I asked that because I saw when you competed against Lake City last week, you actually took on the boys' side your top 2 singles players and put them as your
Yep.
number one doubles team. And then your number three singles player bumped up to number one, and everybody got
Yep.
wins.
Yeah. My top three guys are all pretty even, which is a great spot to be in. Actually, my top four guys are all pretty even. But yeah, my one and two players played all winter together, and they really get along well. And they thought, gosh, maybe we should try dubs, and they're loving it. So it's kind of looking like they might stay there. They played a little match with a couple buddies of mine who are top level hitters yesterday. Played three sets with them, and they split and ended up losing. But that's a really good sign because these guys are good. So.
Yeah, that number one doubles team, Josh Embry and Christian Story. So that was going to be my next question: is do you see them settling into that number one doubles squad?
As of right now, based on what they're saying, and they're senior captains, I let them kind of do what they want. And based on what they're saying, they'd like to go the season together. So today will be a good test because against Moscow, they'll really know where they're gonna land in a district tournament type situation because I think Moscow's got the best doubles team that we're going to face. So yeah, it'll
Yes.
be interesting. But I think they'll stay together. They're tough.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so you mentioned the district, and it's pretty small. It's Sandpoint, Moscow, and Lakeland. How do you see that district kind of taking shape this season?
I know Lakeland has a couple new kids that transferred in that are good players. I'm familiar with them. Um, other than that, I'm not sure what they've got going down there. We haven't played them yet. We're going to play them in about a week. Moscow, same thing. And we haven't seen anyone for a year because of COVID. So not sure what they've got. I'm pretty familiar maybe with a couple kids. I don't think they graduated, but they'll have the top of their team will be they're always tough. I mean, it'll be really fun to see today, but I'm not sure what we're walking into.
And then in terms of the district being small, that also impacts the amount of players that get to move on to state, right?
Correct. Yeah, we only two singles players make it to state, the winner and the runner up, and two doubles players, or yeah, two doubles teams and two mixed doubles teams. So yeah, but I think we look pretty good in all of those spots, and he'll I always go in real confident, maybe overconfident, but I think Sandpoint's going to do pretty well.
And that was going to be my question: is if you guys are able to have some success at districts, I mean, what sort of impact do you think Sandpoint could have on the state level in terms of 4A?
Um, I don't want. Okay, so I like to be positive. I don't like to be negative, but I just with a rebuilding year for the girls, I can't see them going real deep at state. But you never know. We got a fairly long season left, to improve. The guys, Josh and Christian, they can make some noise at state. They're hitters. They can really rip it. In singles, I think Charlie Johnson at number one has a good chance of going deep at state. I don't necessarily see a state championship, but you never know. But yeah.
And it's crazy that we're talking about state when we've got so much regular season ahead of us. But
I
like you
know.
said, unusual spring where you've already had a lot of matches, and so it's a good time at least to kind of
Yeah.
assess where you're at. Who are teams or individuals that you're looking at statewide that are good? I mean, like you said, it's been almost 2 years since anybody was able to compete. But are there schools that you're keeping an eye on from the other districts?
See, this is where I'm a really bad coach. I no, I haven't really sat down yet and studied what other teams are doing, like in the Boise area. But it's always the Boise teams that we have to beat. I mean, those are the guys we got to go through. Bishop Kelly is always tough, and we can't wait to take on Bishop Kelly. But that's who we're looking at, I guess, mostly. But yeah, well, I'll do that in a couple of weeks. I'll start studying those guys. Find
Sure.
out because they're doing the same thing as we are. They're kind of mixing stuff up. We don't know where anyone's playing yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in terms of what's coming up on the schedule, you're starting district matches. Are there other matches on your schedule outside of the district that you've kind of circled and said this will be good competition for our players?
Um, Lewiston is their boys team is really strong, and our boys team is strong, and their coach Sandy and I are friends, and we want to play each other a lot. So we've played each other once. We're going to play two more times against Lewiston for sure, and probably a fourth time, just because we want to go against each other. But with COVID and everything, the way things have worked, we're doing less traveling. Washington doesn't have any tennis yet. So we have matches against the Washington schools and the Inland Empire tournament that's been all canceled. So our matches are going to be repeat matches with the 5A schools in Coeur d'Alene and then Lewiston. So it's just going to be kind of a lot of similar faces in match after match, but there's nothing wrong with that either. I kind of like not traveling quite as much. Of course,
Sure.
Lewiston's a trip, but
right.
Gotta
But
do that.
the competition is worth the trip. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
and I'm making them come up here, so it's also it's that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, losing those Washington schools. I imagine some of those Washington State programs are pretty talented year in, year out. Does it give your program a good look?
Yeah, we have we play Meade every year. Meade's always one of the top teams in the state of Washington, and we really look forward to that one. And we usually don't come out on the top of that one, but sometimes we have. And this year would have been just really fun to play those guys, but unfortunately, not going to happen. But yeah, and then the Inland Empire tournament's just, that's a real bummer to miss that. That I can't remember how many teams in that, 50.
Yeah.
And we see everyone at that, so that's a tough one to lose too. But whatever, we'll get it next year.
Yep. Hopefully next season we'll have the regular schedule back in force, but also this wonderful weather that we're getting this year, right? If you get both of those combined, it'd be a pretty good season.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, we're out there. We get out of school early this year because of COVID. So our practices start at 1:15, and we're out there till 6 every single day. And it's just these kids have hit so many more balls than any team I've ever had up to this point, and that's why they're getting better. But of course, the other teams are undoubtedly doing kind of the same thing. So everyone's getting better. So that state tournament this year, there'll be some hitters. It'll be really good.
We're looking forward to it. Kent Anderson, head tennis coach at Sandpoint High School. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck against Moscow and throughout the rest of the season as well. We'll be keeping an eye on you guys up there.
Thanks for checking in, Brandon.